It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Winthrop's head women's lacrosse coach, Coach Hannah Potter. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you want to get started in coaching at college lacrosse?
I actually wasn't totally certain on if I was going to love it or not. So I went to school to be a teacher. My undergrad's in elementary education, and I got certified and everything, and then had the opportunity to take my fifth year. And my fifth year, I studied administration and got my master's in admin, which I originally did to get paid more as a public school teacher. Again, kind of thinking that was my route. And then my fifth year was just like magical. It was so awesome. I got to be teammates with my sister for the first time ever. We're 5 grade levels apart, so we never crossed paths in high school or anything. And we opened up against Northwestern in the first round of the NCAA tournament. We won our conference. It was just a great year, and I wasn't ready to be done with lacrosse per se. I always knew there was going to be a need for teachers. I could always teach. So I was like, let me go see if I like college coaching. I applied to a bunch of different jobs and ended up coming down south where I still am now, here at Winthrop, and it's been awesome. I think probably like 2 months into the job, I was like, I want to do this forever. I don't think I want to do anything else. But I really didn't know going into it. I think I was just like, I can always do it for a year, and if it's not something I love, that's okay. I at least gave it a shot. Like, well, my foot's in the door, I'm fresh and know the most about lacrosse. So I think probably 2 months in was like, this is it for me. And I knew eventually down the road, I think probably, a year later or so, I was like, I think I would want to be a head coach one day too. So it's just kind of been more of like a let me see as we go kind of thing. It wasn't like I one day knew this was going to be it growing up or anything like that, which is actually how I felt about teaching. And really coaching is just teaching in a different format and platform. So I'm still getting to do what I went to school for, just in a little bit more of a unique way.
What was that experience like for you going to Central Michigan and getting to play college lacrosse?
A dream come true. I actually played really competitive soccer all the way through high school graduation, and I thought I was going to play college soccer. I started playing lacrosse a little bit later, and really kind of stumbled into it. One of my best friends moved from Maryland, where both of her sisters and her brother played collegiately, and we played soccer and basketball together. And she was like, "You guys got to try lacrosse. It's going to be so fun." And we weren't on board at first, but then after much trial and error, we went to our first lacrosse practice, and as you can imagine, catching and throwing was nearly impossible for us at first, but we were so athletic and understood a lot of the other concepts that are really important about lacrosse, working together and timing and spacing and teamwork and like just the stamina components too. We kind of had covered, but it was catching and throwing. So once I decided, I was like, I really love lacrosse. I feel like my ceiling is a lot higher. I have so much more room to grow and learn. I think I want to play this in college. Then I kind of started looking at, again, being a teacher, where will be the best fit for me. And that's when Central Michigan, it was the most perfect option. Geographically, it was close enough to home where my family could go to games, and I could go easily home for holidays and stuff like that. And then getting to play there was everything I could have ever asked for and more. I obviously took my fifth year. I loved it so much. Was very blessed to get, my education and got to play with my sister. And now I have the best friends for life. And a lot of that is because of college lacrosse. So the snow and bad weather was worth it. I'll tell you that.
For you, what was that feeling like putting on that jersey and representing them? And what were some of your biggest accomplishments as a player?
I think the first time probably, which was so long ago now, thinking about it, that I ever put the jersey on, I remember being just so, a number of emotions, excited, nervous, anxious, but also this feeling of fulfillment and a little bit of pride and being proud. Like, this is such an awesome moment, and just really excited, but also very grateful for the opportunity too, because obviously such a small margin gets to play at the next level, and at the Division I level too. So just excited to be where I was at. And I also like really wasn't sure, am I even gonna play? Am I gonna contribute? I didn't really know what it was like totally gonna look like for me my freshman year. So I think probably excited and nervous, as most freshmen are before their first game. As far as accomplishments, I think winning our conference. My sophomore year, we were in the SoCon, so we came down here actually to where closer to where I'm at now, and that was our fourth year as a program, and so winning the SoCon was like a really big deal for us. Huge strides were made, and then my fifth year, we won the MAC, which is the conference that our like school is actually in, and had enough teams to make a program, or enough teams to make a conference out of it. But that was probably one of my most like exciting accomplishments, was winning that alongside my teammates and my sister, and getting to go play in the NCAA tournament. I feel like that last year, every Saturday we were winning in May, and it just was the most fun. And finally it was getting sunny and warm in Michigan, and all my family was there, all of our friends were there, alumni were coming back. It just was a really fun atmosphere to be a part of. And I think, although that's a team accomplishment, it's probably the one that I'm most excited about and proud of, because that's what you remember. And that's something I tell my girls now, like, you're not going to totally remember the games that you totally, choked or, underperformed or anything like that. You're going to remember the big wins and the big highs and the silly moments and everything in between. Maybe not so much your individual performances, but.
What was that experience like coaching for the Ultimate in Charlotte?
So when I got here to Charlotte, and I guess leading up to it, I had experience coaching club lacrosse. So I coached at Indy United in Indianapolis. And then when I got here, I was looking to make some extra money and get involved in the club scene. And so Ultimate was a really good experience for me. Ultimate is a huge organization. They have Ultimate New Jersey, they have Ultimate Lehigh Valley, Ultimate Carolina, and so I was working at the Ultimate Charlotte branch, and the women that I got to work with are awesome and still good friends of mine now. So that was a fun experience to get to travel and coach them. I coached a really young team, so that was refreshing, going from the college game of really high IQ, intense lacrosse to like basic catching and throwing, and just having more fun and make more games at practice in a lighthearted way. So it was definitely a different change up for vibes for practice, but it was a really fun experience. And I still work with them a lot, doing clinics and stuff here at Winthrop as well.
For you, what was that experience like coming onto the college level and first being an assistant coach at Winthrop?
I think it's so funny. I even say this to like my college teammates now, like, you really never know what your coaches did until you're like doing it yourself. You're like, I cannot believe she did this, or that was something that they had to do for us. And because coaching is so much more than the X's and O's and like practice planning, there's so much that goes into it. And I think I was surprised when I got here and was doing it myself that, oh my goodness, I can't believe they did all this. So I was, texting my coaches immediately like, wow, I appreciate you guys more than I even did before. I can't believe this. So I think getting an experience where I got to learn a lot about the things in the office per se that we get to do was really cool. And something I have appreciated about my experience here at Winthrop is I was the only assistant, and so that meant I got to do a lot. I got to learn a lot because we had to tackle more, versus if I went to a program that had multiple assistants, I probably would have had less responsibilities, very like specific ones as well. So I got to learn a lot really fast, which I'm really grateful for.
What was that transition like going from being an assistant to a head coach there?
I think I was given really awesome opportunities in the seasons leading up to moving to the head coaching role. My boss went on maternity leave, and that was a good experience to kind of be in the driver's seat with still having someone there to help me, even if she was from afar. So that was really good. I think the experience and the transition this past season was really awesome. The girls and their families, our alumni, this Winthrop community, other coaches and administration, like really put their arms around me, made me feel comfortable and confident going into the role, knowing that I had all of their support. So it was a lot of learning while I went, and things that I maybe didn't totally know, but the people around me definitely stepped up. My, coaching friends in the lacrosse world, but then also my colleagues here at Winthrop, like, hey, what would you do if this happened? Or like, should I do this? Should I look into this? Just, I definitely was not afraid to ask for help and ask questions, which I think really helped when there was things that I didn't know how to do yet. But the transition was really positive. I'm happy with how our season went. I have to continue to remind myself that the pyramids weren't built in a day. So I'm not going to totally get us maybe to where I want us to be right then and there. But we really did have a lot of progress on and off the field, and I'm really proud of that. But that started with, the things that we were doing leading up to this and my years as an assistant too.
For you, what was that feeling like getting announced to becoming the next head coach? And what was that feeling like stepping onto that field?
I guess to answer the first part of the question, because I was announced the head coach after our season, so I was in the interim role throughout the entire spring. But the announcement was really, really cool and exciting. Just the overwhelming amount of support that I felt from so many people that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they even saw this. Or just everything from my players texting me how excited they were it was official, to parents and alumni, friends of mine from high school and college, teammates, people in the lacrosse community. It was just really overwhelmingly positive and encouraging and exciting. I appreciated the recognition. So that was nice too.
For you, what was that feeling like stepping onto that field for the first time and getting your first win as a head coach?
Unbelievable. It was so exciting. I think for us, we, started to really focus more on the little things to take off pressure of like, we have to win this game. We should win this game. But really, if we did the little things right and we won the tiny little stats, the margins that we know will help us ultimately win the game, then a win will naturally come. And so I think when we started to focus more on winning the 50-50s and coming up with the ground ball stat, going for defensive chases and winning, 60% or more of the draw controls into the zone. Like we really started to focus on those components of the small-sided pieces. And then it made for the win, like it just made sense, right? Like we did all these little things really well and we got the win. And for us, like winning in overtime was also a huge testament to the hard work and dedication this team has, the fight and the grit that we had this past season. So that was really rewarding too. But definitely very exciting, and the girls being pumped and all of our families being here too was really cool.
You talk about, of course, the culture that you started to build for the Winthrop lacrosse program.
I think the culture, even prior to my arrival, was something that I was really excited about. And prior to getting here, it sounded like and seemed like it was a great group of girls, and the families were super supportive and excited. And then when I got here, I saw that. And so the culture, I think, has always been really positive. I think as we have progressed, it's continued to improve in the sense that the girls are really supportive of one another. They love each other and they care so much about each other. They spend so much time together. They're already all hanging out this summer, and it hasn't even been, well, the first time I saw girls that were getting together was like not even a month into the summer yet. But that part has been really awesome. But I also think our culture has improved to the point where our accountability is higher because they see more for each other, and our program is improving where we want to be better on the field, and so we are not afraid to hold each other to higher standards. But how they go about it is really impressive because it's coming from a place of love and care that was built on the relationships that they have had and will continue to have. So I'm really proud of the culture. I think I tell recruits a lot, if I was going through the recruiting process again, these are, girls I would want to be teammates with, and people that I would want to play on the field with. They're really, really loving and supportive of not only each other, but of me. And I know that they know that I care about them so much too. And I think that our culture is really awesome component of our program.
What does a typical game day look like for you as a head coach versus for your athletes?
So for me, I guess for home games per se, I like to get here really, really early before games. I just feel like I am settled and not rushed. I don't enjoy that feeling really ever, but especially on game day. So I get here early. I have to get a pregame coffee, of course. And kind of each game is different if there's a themed game or depending on the start time. A lot of times I'll just get like work done in the office and try to normalize my day as much as possible because I think putting too much stress on like what's about to happen or the game ahead can actually be detrimental not only to like me, but I wouldn't want my players thinking about our game all day long, and then when you get there you're like, wow, I'm already exhausted, I've been worried about this all day. So I think I try to just get more office work done, travel stuff for the next game, whatever the case is, and then when the rest of our staff comes in, we usually game plan and kind of go over the strategy based off the scout that we put together. Last minute changes if we, found out someone wasn't playing or the weather might be a component or anything like that. We'll just kind of, or, if based off how practices have gone, if there's someone that might be injured or has limited minutes, we basically just strategize subbing game management. If A happens, our response is going to be B defensively. Hey, if we get down by, 3 goals, are we making it a change, goalie change, defensive change, something like that. So we go over all of that, which I think is important for all of us to be on the same page before we get into the game. Same thing with like reminders, like, hey, if I forget to do this, please like pull me to the side, or you have full reign, please make this change, keep an eye on this stat. Things that we think are going to be important for the game. And then usually we go over to the field about 2 hours probably before the game, set the field up for our shoot around. And then the girls will come out, we'll do shoot around all together, really just like fun, light moments, get some touches, get their bodies moving. And then we'll set the field up for the actual warm up while the girls go back into the locker room. Then we do pregame message, we visualize. We go over the tactical and logistical components of our game plan with the girls while they're previously in scouting position groups. And then we do warm up and we got the game. And then if it's a home game, I stay after and do the film, upload the film because that needs to be done the night of. And that's kind of my schedule for the girls. Again, we don't want them thinking about the 6 p.m. game at 8 a.m. when they wake up. So as much as we can make their day as normal as possible, trying to get them up around the same time that they would be if we didn't have a game. So we'll go on like a team walk in the morning all together, which usually we try to do during our normal practice time. So again, your body's used to waking up at that same time, and then we'll do a little light stretch, and then if they have class they go. We're very lucky here in our location that a lot of our games are super close even if they're away. Some of our out of conference games like Charlotte, Queens, Davidson, those are all within an hour. Wofford, Furman, High Point, Gardner Webb, those are all less than an hour and a half away. So sometimes girls do go to class on away game days, which is really, I think, helpful for the student athlete experience. Doesn't feel like you're always having to rework schedules and connect with your professors because you're not actually missing nearly as much. So some will go do that, some will go to the training room, then they'll get to the locker room about 2 hours before. That has been something that has changed over the course of my time here. You don't want them to be there too early, but you also don't want to feel rushed. And so I think that 2 hour mark has been good for our roster. They, finish their hair and makeup in the locker room. They all walk out together, and then we do our shoot around, and then they go in and they get into their position groups and they go over our scout. We visualize all together. I think that's an underrated skill and tool that has really helped us just build confidence on the field and their beliefs, and then in our game plan. And then we'll do a little pregame message speech. They sing. And then they go out on the field for warm-up, and before you know it, it's first draw.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against?
In our conference that we compete against? Wofford, Furman, and Mercer are affiliates of our conference. So we'll play them every year. And then we have High Point, Gardner Webb, Longwood, Presbyterian, and Radford. That might be all of them. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody.
What is that home game atmosphere like when teams like Wofford comes to home versus going to Radford?
Our home field is awesome. Obviously, I'm biased, but I never got to play on grass really much in college, and then I got here. I'm like, this field is so beautiful. It's really only used for games for us in men's and women's soccer. So the three of us share that complex. Obviously, they both play in the fall, so it's just on us on the field in the spring, and it's a really pretty field. And when ESPN films, and I only know this because my grandma loves to tell me this, they always have our lake really beautifully in the background of the like shot. So you'll see us playing, and then you'll see the Winthrop Lake. And she always says it looks like Northwestern. I'm like, that's cute. It's not Lake Michigan, but so I think our facility is beautiful. So much green space. I mean, that's what I'm looking at right now. Lots of trees, greenery. And then we travel really heavy for home and away games. We actually only have one in-state student athlete on our roster, so everyone's coming from, all over the country. And we're lucky the Charlotte airport's 25 miles away, so it's convenient for people to get in and out of. But we always have a good fan base of families, parents. The student athletes come out, they show out and support each other, which was news to me because when I was in Michigan, no one came to our games because it was always so cold. Like no one wanted to be in the snow while we were playing. And then I get here, I'm like, your friends come to your games? This is awesome. And then also the community, a lot of professor support, which is awesome. Other athletic teams and their coaching staffs and the departments and stuff has been really exciting to have at games. So I think the general vibe is really nice. And then after games, especially if it's a weekend game, we have a huge tailgate. The families here are so supportive and encouraging, and they always show out with these elaborate spreads, and they pull the grill out. We get picnic tables and a really cool atmosphere post game, which I think goes hand in hand with the culture that we have as a team, right? We're a loving group, and when you walk off the field and have so many people to literally and figuratively put their arms around you, whether your family's there or not, is synonymous to what our culture is like. And so that's been a really fun environment to be a part of, and that's what the girls remember, is like all those times with their families after games and all that good stuff.
So far as a head coach, what have been some of the biggest things you've been able to accomplish so far?
I was in the interim role this past season, so I guess if you were to count my interim stint as a head coaching role, I think tripling our wins was a big accomplishment for sure. We had 5 program records that we beat, and man up goals, number of goal scorers. We had 17 goal scorers this year. It's more than half of our team. What else? We had the highest team GPA in program history this semester, so that was a really big win. Graduated 2 awesome seniors who I know are just going to go crush it and post grad school, jobs, all the above. And so I think that's a big accomplishment when you graduate well-rounded young leaders who are going to go crush the next phase of their life and who are graduating while still loving lacrosse and loving their friends and everything here. So I would say those are the biggest accomplishments, as well as maintaining a really awesome culture of girls who are supportive, who love each other, who love lacrosse and want to get better.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes? And as a head coach, what do you look at in them?
So this coming summer is basically prime recruiting season, and summer travel lacrosse is where we typically probably pull the most kids from. So we'll go to tournaments, we'll go to showcases, events, and watch kids all summer until we can talk to them on September 1st of their junior year. So we're watching rising juniors who just finished their sophomore seasons. So as we prepare to get to September 1st, we get that list ready of maybe these are reaches. They're really talented kids who might be going to a better, higher ranked lacrosse school, but maybe they're looking for what we can offer here. And then we have, another, like this is probably our demographic. So we'll hit that on September 1st. But what we're looking for specifically here at Winthrop are people that are going to fit into that holistic student athlete model that we really value. Obviously, we have goals and expectations of being competitive on the field. We want to win a Big South championship, and so we want people that are going to help us do that physically on the field. So we're looking for talented lacrosse players who exhibit like a no-quit mentality. They're scrappy, aggressive, not afraid to make mistakes. I think what someone does after they turn the ball over is more telling than them turning the ball over. We're human, we make mistakes, but like, what do you do after? Obviously looking for athletes who, have the speed, have the strength and stamina, but also those who have stick skills that are well developed and an IQ that you can see is moldable still. And then, like I said, with the holistic student athlete experience component, we're obviously looking for people who value their academic experience. We want to make sure that we're graduating people who are going to go out and be competent in the workforce and maybe go to awesome grad school and be a leader there too. And so that's a big priority for us. And so finding the right fit for someone academically as well. And then, as I said, the cultural component is huge. We have such a great positive team culture. I wouldn't want to do anything that would detriment that. So looking for the right fit culturally with recruits who I know would get along with girls on the current team.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those freshmen putting on that uniform for the first time versus your seniors on the last time?
I think the first time for the freshmen is similar to what I described about my first time. You can tell they're a little bit nervous, sometimes like maybe feeling or looking a little bit overwhelmed, but also they're pumped and they're excited and they can't stop smiling. That's such a cool feeling to see and cool experience to see as a coach, because you can tell this means a lot to them, which is exciting and rewarding. I think for the seniors, it's a different type of emotion. There's still a lot of pride and excitement, but also more gratitude and humility with it, where they've had that moment of, oh my gosh, so nervous, and they probably are nervous, especially for the first game, but it's just a little bit more routine, probably a little bit more confident, but also I would imagine really grateful to be able to get to do it. And I think our seniors this past year really took to heart the last time I'm playing at home, the potential last time traveling on the road, and really trying to make the most of it and soaking up every minute. We talk a lot about being where our feet are, and I think our team does that really well, but the seniors definitely exemplified that.
What are some of your future plans for the program moving forward?
I think tactically on the field and the lacrosse component is to compete for our Big South championship. We went 4-4, which was the best season in the Big South that we've had since 2019, I think. So that was a huge step. Now we're looking for the next one, which would mean, winning some more Big South games, making it to the tournament again, which was the first time we've done that since 2022, and then winning that first game and taking it moment by moment. But we lost by 1 to Mercer, who ended up being the Big South champ, so that I have no doubt that we can compete in the Big South. It's just a matter of closing out some of the games that maybe were close, or showing up a little bit more consistently for the big ones as well. Off the field, continuing to graduate, badass women, leaders that are gonna go crush it and to feel confident and competent in what they studied, whether they're going to grad school or joining the workforce, that they feel ready to go. And they still love lacrosse and have a great relationship with the sport, because of course we want to see everybody graduate and give back, whether that means coaching youth or high school or refereeing or even coaching collegiately too. I think making sure that they still leave with a love for the sport is big time. And then, of course, continuing to put an emphasis on the academic component. What I said earlier about having our highest semester team GPA, that's a huge win. I think now that's the standard. And the girls know that, we got here, there's no reason why we can't continue to stay here and improve. So that will continue to be a goal, is maintaining our academic excellence, for lack of a better word.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college lacrosse?
I think come in prepared. We talk about a lot here how confidence comes from preparation, and you could use any sport analogy. You'll feel more confident on the free throw line if you shoot more free throws. You'll feel confident taking an 8-meter if you take a lot of 8 meters on your own, right? And if you do it by yourself and rep it out. And so we talk a lot about that with stick work and conditioning, that you will feel so much more confident here, especially when you're new on the block and you want to make an awesome impression by coming in prepared, which means, your stick skills are up to par and your conditioning and fitness is high. I think that's just the easiest way to make a really positive first impression, not only on the staff, but of your teammates, that you are taking it seriously and you're here to play. And that's the kind of vibe and expectation that we want, so that we can start to build chemistry, that we can have more productive and competitive practices if everyone comes in really great shape and their stick work is on point. So my best advice is, yeah, come in prepared, and then the rest should be able to take care of itself. If you already have such a strong foundation, you can only continue to keep building. I guess the other piece that I would include is not being afraid to ask questions or ask for advice. And I mean that on the field, but also off the field. It's a huge adjustment coming to college for anybody, but especially as a collegiate athlete. You're go, you're so busy, and finding time to talk to your family and finding out how to best adjust to being far away from home, or where, do I need to go see the athletic trainer? Where do I do study hall? Like all the questions that probably have been talked about, but being able to be like, I totally forget this, or I don't remember if someone said this, or I'm really struggling with this, I need help, and not being afraid to ask those questions, because it's better to ask and then maybe not turn something in on time or not get the help that you need, and it could be, a more greater issue down the road. So
What advice would you give those players that have aspirations of playing professional lacrosse?
I think continue to work hard and perfect your craft, obviously, to be able to play at the next level, especially in lacrosse, where it's, there's not as many NFL or NBA teams, or even like baseball opportunities. So you really have to stand out, and that work starts your freshman year of college, and building the foundation, and again, asking those questions, improving your IQ, and being the best version of you that you possibly can be when it comes time to like the later part of your career, maybe when those professional opportunities come up. So I don't know a ton about the professional scene, and it's ever changing in the sport of lacrosse. So I think just staying up to date on the options and the availabilities and opportunities, and again, asking questions if that's something that you feel passionate about, like go for it and go full throttle, because you can always look back and be like, I gave it everything I had, and if it worked out and you have this awesome career professionally, that's amazing. If it worked out for a short stint, like you can say you did it and you had that opportunity, and I think anyone would feel really proud walking away from giving something their best effort, especially playing professionally.
What advice would you give those players out there looking to get started into coaching, whether it being assistant coaches or head coaches?
I think do it. Just get your feet wet. You can do anything for a year. And I mean, I believe year commitments are, probably the most respectable, especially in our sport. But even then, you don't have to do it for a year, but you can try anything, and maybe you fall in love with it. Maybe you realize it's not for you, but again, you gave it your best effort and you gave it a go. So I think put yourself out there, especially for collegiate coaching, right when seasons end. It's sending your resume and your cover letter to programs or coaches that are hiring, to applying for those jobs. It's the same as going for a marketing position. You gotta apply, and you gotta put yourself out there. Be willing to take the interviews and the phone calls, even if maybe it's not your top pick, because you never know who that person knows. You never know how that could continue to help you on the back end. The experience alone is awesome. So definitely put yourself out there, apply for jobs. The IWLCA, which is the governing body for our sport, does a really good job of putting on programming and opportunities for young student athletes coming out of college or recent grads to kind of get their foot in the door in college coaching. So definitely taking them up on all those opportunities, and relying on your resources, like, hey, do you know anything about this, or can you help me get this? Like, how would I go about applying for this? All that kind of stuff. And then if collegiate coaching isn't for you, you already tried it, or you don't want to, I think the lacrosse world always needs lacrosse coaches, and lacrosse coaches who really care about their players. And so there's going to be so many opportunities, whether it's in someone's hometown, or maybe not the club you played for, but the one down the road, that will be looking for coaches. And again, I think it's all about just putting yourself out there and connecting with someone, and maybe they don't have an opportunity for you right then and there, but maybe you'll be on their list for the next phone call, which could always be a really good option too.
What advice would you give those future head coaches looking to build their own program?
I think people told me this, and I appreciated it, and definitely took advantage of just asking for help. You don't know what you don't know until you don't know, and you're like, I don't know how to do that, or I don't know anything about that. And not having the shame in asking for help, or especially if it's something that maybe you feel like you should know. There's definitely been moments where I'm like, I think I should know how to do that, but I don't, or I think I should know more about this topic and maybe I don't. And so really relying on the community that you have, and not being afraid to ask for help or ask questions, I think is really great for those like first time head coaches. And then again, what I said earlier about you're not gonna be able to, the pyramids weren't built in a day. You're not going to be able to flip the program. And I think different articles that I've read and things that I've read say it takes on average 3 years to change a program or to adapt like the culture, or basically changes that you want to make take a solid 3 years before it's actually a part of the program, and just like a no-brainer. And so I think remembering that in moments where you're like maybe not seeing as much growth or progress or change, and then focusing on the little things. Like I said, we did that as a team, but I did that as a coach, like finding the little wins, that first commit in the class, that's huge. First transfer, that's a big deal too. And celebrating those little wins, of course, celebrating all the big wins. It's hard to win a lacrosse game, and celebrating those, I think, will help fuel you in the moments where it feels a little bit lower or not as exciting. So asking for help, celebrating the little wins, and what was the other thing I said? I'm already blanking.
Where can my listeners find you at on social media and the program at?
All of our handles for Winthrop Lacrosse is at Winthrop Lax on Twitter, on Instagram. We do have a TikTok, but we don't have any TikToks on it yet. I gotta get on that. I'm like, girls, give me the ideas. And then my personal information is all Hannah Potter _ or Han _ Potter on Instagram and Twitter and then LinkedIn. So
thank you again, Coach Hannah Potter, for your interview, and best luck in your future at Winthrop as the head women's lacrosse coach.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk _ Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Hannah, for your interview, and best luck in your future.
Thanks.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.